Hello everyone, I finally got another update for you on my Enlarger design. It is out of my house now as I've gone back to school at the Rhode Island School of Design and is now in the basement of my dorm building. Hopefully it'll be in the dark room soon enough. It is missing a few things as you can see. The bellows are not there yet and neither is the light source. The bellows were made by Custom Bellows in the UK and they are currently in transit from there to here. The light source is almost done as well, just missing a few things. I ran into some electrical issues while I was wiring it and got to fix those before I can install it. Let me go closer and I can show you how everything works. Right here is the controller for the chassis. It has 3 buttons for table, lens, and head, and a joystick. Power switch on the front as well, and 2 cables come with the back. The way it works is once power is on, which it is, I can hit a button and move the joystick back and forth to move the stages up and down. The joystick tells the motors how fast to move, and the motors turn threaded rods, which then drive the stages up and down. The 2 cables coming to the back are power, which goes to a power strip down there. It'll be mounted to the chassis eventually, but I'm still wiring things, so it's not in its final place yet. And secondly is this cable. This cable is 16-pin cable, or 16-wire cable that goes to the rear of the chassis. There are 4 wires plugged in here. This top one 16-pin. 16-pin takes data from the Arduino and sends it to the motor controllers to tell the motors how to move. It also has 6 wires that come from the limit switches in the chassis that go back to the Arduino to tell it when to stop moving. Those limit switches are in place so that the stages don't move too far and break themselves. There's also 3 other wires plugged in here. This one here is power, which just goes to the power strip down there. It goes to the power supply in here, so it's motor controllers. Then there's this cable, which goes to the lower chassis. This cable also goes to the lower chassis. Those 2 cables are for data and power to the lower chassis. The lower chassis is basically can be separated from the upper chassis, so you can mount the upper chassis on a table or a bench or something, so it can be a bench top enlarger. So that in that case, you just unplug these wires and work fine without them. The lower chassis plugs in down there and come up here. This top cable is a 4-pin Jones connector for the motor wires. Separate motor controllers in here, and it goes to separate motor down at the bottom. This bottom cable is a just a little data cable. It has three wires that go from here down to the bottom, and they are for the limit switches in the bottom chassis. The Jones connector, it's not really the best connector for this design, but I chose it because there are a lot of other enlargers use Jones connectors, like Devere and Omega use Jones connectors. I know others do too, but yeah, I probably might change it to something else later if I make updates on this design, because they're kind of old and hard to use. But yeah, then we have the lens up here and the head up there, cable down here, and each of these is controlled by a motor. And there's no like knobs and pulleys or anything like a lot of enlargers can move up and down. It's all done, no counterweights either, which is a nice thing. It's all done with motors. There's a motor in the bottom of each segment, so there's a motor in the bottom of the chassis and in the bottom of the upper stage. At the bottom of the lower stage and bottom of the upper stage. Lower chassis and upper chassis. I'm saying the wrong thing, sorry. So there's a motor in the bottom of the lower chassis, which controls the table up and down, and a motor in the bottom of the upper chassis, which moves the head up and down. The lens is controlled by a motor on the head, which has an 18-inch span to go from the head to the about there-ish. I chose to have it mounted to that other than separate because it was a lot easier to only have one threaded rod going to full length and have a second one going down a smaller length. Having one going to full length, it'd be hard to wire anyway, and it'd be a bit more complicated mechanically. So I went with this route. It might not be the best, but I think it'll be fine. So it's an 18-inch threaded rod that goes from basically that span, and then 48-inch threaded rod from up there to down there, and the 36 from there to there. Let me show you how those move. To move it, let's focus. I turn it on down here. It's the power switch for the controller. And then I have 3 buttons, table, lens, and head. I press a button and then move the joystick, and that moves the corresponding stage up and down. So I push the table and push it up. You might be able to hear that, and you might be able to see it. Hard to see because it's pretty slow, but the table is now slowly rising. And now down, It can go pretty slow. It can go very slow actually, if you want to for fine focusing. Then head is the next one I'll show you. Press this button, and you can hear it moving up and down now. It is a bit loud. I think I might put some nylon tape strips inside to kind of make the rollers smoother and less noisy. But yeah, it's moving down now. Up, down, and if I hit lens, that will now move relative to the head. You could see earlier that the head was moving both the lens and the head. I'll move the lens up. You might be able to see it. Yeah, you can see it kind of wash the top of that corner there and that little line there in the chassis. You can see they're getting closer. You can also hear it. The lens I'm using here is a Rotagon 240G. Yeah, I have a 300 as well, but it would be I need a taller chassis, and that wouldn't fit in my house which has 8-foot ceilings. So I went with the 240 for this. I could always add an extension in the middle so I can get higher, bigger prints or use a longer lens, but for now this will work, I think. Lens is just a little simple lens board. Connects with these 4 thumb screws. Also 4 thumb screws up here, so I can move the bellows. So the bellows will be attached. Oh, let's focus better, please. Yep, bellows will be attached to this plate and this plate up here. Focus again, please. Focus, focus. Come on, there you go. There's focus. So these plates can be removed, and the bellows will be attached to those. So the bellows can be removed. For transport, you can always take it apart. The head comes off, the lens comes off, the table comes off. Then you can just take the upper chassis off the lower chassis and lower chassis off the base. The base down there has a power supply. That is not connected right now. That is for the light source, but I'm not running light source right now, so it's not on. Also, there are 4 casters on each corner. Those are for moving it around, and they also have little feet that drop down to level it and keep it stable when it's in place. So it's pretty stable right now, as you can see. I can push on it, it doesn't budge. Or it does budge a bit, but not much. The table is pretty stable as well. If I push on it, it will flex, but it always returns to the same position. So as long as you're not like, pushing on it and make it print, it should be fine. Yeah, that's everything, I think. So yeah, thank you guys for like paying attention to all this stuff, all my crazy antics here. If you have any suggestions that I might be able to change things about it, I'm always open to that. I make mistakes like anyone else. Or if you just have ideas you want to throw at me, I'm also always happy to chat about this kind of stuff. So yeah, the Enlarger. It's kind of crazy to see it coming together. When I first assembled the chassis, it was kind of like weird. As like, I knew it was going to be 90.5 inches tall, but seeing that in person is different than seeing it on a piece of paper. I don't know. I guess I knew it was going to be tall, just no, I didn't really have a sense in my mind of like what that looked like in real life. So it's kind of shocked to see it come together like, oh yeah, that is pretty tall. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. So yeah, comment anything you might have, like any of these you might have, and I'll see you next time when it's hopefully done. Bye.